Family, real quick check of the equipment. Can everyone hear okay? I know it's been a moment. Can everyone hear me, though? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me, please. Good to see you guys. Welcome. I'm going to be a little more soft-spoken and less excitable than I normally am because I've got to make sure that I don't have a heart attack. So we're still battling heart issues. I appreciate all your guys' prayers. We'll give an update on that here in a moment. But right now, if everyone can hear me, good to see you. Okay, good deal. So I'm getting a lot of thumbs up. Very cool. So welcome. I know it's been almost 9 days since my last video, and my last one was kind of a health update. So more on that. Basically, I'm on 5 different heart medications now. I have one to take in case I feel like I'm actively having a heart attack, which is pretty wild. The problem is that I'm waiting to get in with cardiologists. Everywhere from here to Dallas is completely booked out for several months at a time. So as of right now, it looks like I'm going to be about a week or two before I can get in there. So I've been calling every day to try to squeeze in earlier like they've been telling me to. So far, I'm a month and a half earlier than I was supposed to be, which is a blessing. So the goal is to get even closer. So basically, if you guys didn't know, had a really bad cardiac episode about 4 weeks ago. Went in there. They had to sedate me so that I didn't go into active cardiac arrest. From then, it's been a lot of fatigue, a lot of rest, a lot of chest pain, a lot of shortness of breath and high blood pressure. And I normally have really good blood pressure, but lately it's been really high. So they took blood work and stuff, and so my enzymes for the heart were a little bit elevated, so they were concerned about that. So there's more blood work to be done on Monday, and we're trying to basically figure out. Right now, my heart is enlarged. I got pericarditis diagnosis from my cardiologist, and what we're doing now is that in a couple of weeks they're doing an echocardiogram, and they're going to make sure that there's not a physical defect. There are concerns about a physical defect because of the nature of my symptoms and because of the nature of the chest pain, the blood flow issues, the blood pressure all of a sudden having an issue. And basically, so it's not horribly uncommon that heart defects go undiagnosed this long. But what happens is around mid-20s, they start giving you issues, which I just turned 25 in November of last year. So now it's kind of the time that it would start to act up, if that is what it is. So I basically will find out in about 2 or 3 weeks if I need open heart surgery. So I could use some prayer for that. Because if there is a defect, it's going to have to be surgically repaired with open heart surgery. So that's been what's been going on there. I know some have asked about my knee as well that I injured in May. So it's been a saga with insurance and workers' comp not wanting to provide care. And so they had cut off, workers' compensation benefits. And then, I got an attorney involved. And now I've gotten a letter back saying, oh, by the way, your doctor didn't disclose to us that you had a ACL tear. In a letter, I just got that today. So I was told I didn't have an ACL tear, right? I was told that I did, and then I didn't. And now back in the letter says the results of my initial MRI show an ACL tear as well as, knee sprains and things of that nature. So the whole deal is now I have to go to physical therapy for my knee, which has been absolutely killing me as well. The fluid hasn't been going down in my knee. It's been still really swollen, which is from the tear. So I've been having a rough time with that. So I've got about 12 weeks of physical therapy, and then we're going to see basically if it doesn't heal, if we're even here that long, right? Because I'm hoping for a rapture before then, praying for a rapture before then. But basically now in 12 weeks, if it's not better, then we have to reevaluate whether or not I need knee surgery. So there's been a lot going on. So if you haven't seen me, that's why. We're praying for the rapture, obviously. But if the Lord decides that it's not the time, not the appointed time, that's okay, because we're called to soldier on and we're called to do the work of an evangelist. And I just want to say, I know people have been really concerned, and I love seeing the comments and the prayers and the offers for support and things of that nature. I really appreciate that. I just want to go on the record and say that it is an absolute honor to suffer for the gospel, and it's an absolute privilege to suffer for Jesus Christ. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. My life didn't start getting crazy until after I gave my life to the Lord and started serving Him diligently. So all glory to Christ, even in the scary stuff, even in the uncertain stuff, even in the painful stuff. All glory to Christ. So I just want to go on the record and say that, yeah, there's a lot going on. I crave your prayers because the scripture tells us that the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. And so I ask for your prayers, and I have absolute confidence in that the Lord is going to make a way physically, temporarily on the earth, or he is going to bring us through the time of the rapture. So with that, we have a lot to talk about. I want to read some scriptures. I've got 4 different passages of scripture to really cover 4 different things. And I want to talk about, first and foremost, the reason that we, are gathering is because we are stirring one another up to good works, and we are comforting each other with the promise of his coming, as Titus chapter 2 tells us, right? When we gather under the banner of Christ, and when we gather under the authority of Jesus of Nazareth, what we're doing is we're sharing with one another the good news that we've been redeemed, that we've been saved, that when Christ looks at us, he no longer sees a sinner, he sees his son. And we also comfort one another with the promise of his coming, because family, Jesus is coming, and he's coming very soon, right? And so we need to understand that we want to be busy with our master's business. We want to be about our Father's business. We want to be doing the work of an evangelist. We want to be faithful in ministry. And so we have to understand that, yeah, there's a lot going on geopolitically, with government, geopolitically, with BRICS and commerce and wars, all of these things. But Christ told us these would happen. And I titled the video Breaking Out of the Matrix, because for those of us who are standing and watching and looking at the scriptures and seeing this is lining up tremendously close to what we know is going to be happening in the end days, there are just as many, if not way more, who are having their heads stuck in the sand like a bunch of ostriches, right, or emus. And so we're seeing this kind of duality here, where in one camp of Christ, it's those who are looking and longing for his coming. And we know that there's a reward for that. Paul tells us that, right? But then there's also, when you go to churches sometimes, it's a soft 10-minute message at best. There's no talk about the coming wrath of the Lord. It's a lot of touchy, feel-good stuff, but not a lot of, hey, by the way, the Lord is also a righteous judge, and he has to judge sin. He is coming back, right? We're looking at replacement theology and anti-Semitism on the rise. We're looking at people denouncing teaching on the return of Christ, which is bizarre because that is a quintessential part of the gospel, is that he went up and he is coming back. The angel says the same manner, right, that he left, you'll see him come again. And so we're seeing all of these things. We're seeing the satanic media go crazy. There's the whole dragon on the Empire State thing. There is so many things about witches and homosexuality and abortion and all of this stuff, right? So we're looking at all of these things, and we're looking at this picture of Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot being removed before the wrath, right? And that's really where we're at. And if you think about it, guys, I talked a little bit about it before in my video called Remember Lot's Wife, right? And Pastor JD about 2 or 3 weeks ago had a phenomenal sermon on that as well. But we have to look at the fact that Lot had to really be drug out of Sodom and Gomorrah because he was kind of dragging his feet. I think that's kind of a picture of a lot of believers who aren't ready to go, so to speak, right? There's a lot of being stuck in the matrix. And you might say, bro, Dylan, what do you mean by being stuck in the matrix? This is what I mean by being stuck in the matrix. I have to get the best job. I have to have the most attractive spouse. I have to have the most money. My kids got to take piano. I've got to get married. I've got to finish a degree, whatever the deal is, right? And so I want to say that there's a lot of people who are putting all of their faith, all of their hope, all of their expectation, all of their pleasure, all of their everything, and really their worship in these other things. And if you didn't know, that's called making an idol. And the matrix that we're stuck in has absolutely become an idol. Absolutely has. Whether you're looking at finances, whether you're looking at marriages, whether you're looking at houses, jobs, cars, whatever. If you're putting it before the Lord Jesus, it's become an idol. The matrix that we're living in has become an idol for too many people. There's so many people who would tell me that, Well, the Lord can't come back because I want to get married. He can't come back because I want to see my kids grow up. He can't come back because I got to get this job. He can't come back because I just paid my car off, right? And so the whole thing is that, listen, first and foremost, he's God. We're not. So he's going to come when he decides he's going to come. He did give us clear things. I'm going to close my door real quick because Beaker just broke in. My neighbors are being mean and shooting fireworks. And so my dog just came in here for refuge and comfort. He's seeking the Lord. So power to him. But they're basically saying, look, the Lord can't come back until I accomplish A, B, or C, right? And so what they're doing is they're superseding the authority of Christ. They're putting themselves in that position, right? And what's going on is they are literally making themselves God of their own heart. And they are, they're doing all the things they're not supposed to be doing, right? Which is basically putting your faith in things that are going to perish with rust and moth destroying them, right? And so when we're looking at everywhere across the world, this is a predominantly Western culture thing. When we look at places like Africa, we look at places like Iran, Iraq, North Korea with the underground churches. These people are chomping at the bit for Christ to return, a lot like we are, right? But in the West, people like you and I, we're kind of a misnomer. We're kind of an outlier. We're kind of weirdos, right? Because we don't want to build a castle here. We want our home to be eternal. And that is, for whatever reason, a stumbling block to even people who call themselves Christians, right? There's a shocking amount of people who love the Lord, who completely misunderstand his coming, who don't want to accept the promise of his coming, who want to dig their talons in here as much as possible. You guys know a couple weeks ago, my grandmother passed away. She was the example of the opposite of that, of ready to go home, of ready to see Jesus, of ready to be with loved ones, but more importantly, ready to see Jesus, to fall into her eternal rest. My grandmother was someone who struggled like her whole life, financially struggled, relationally struggled, struggled with self-doubt, struggled with, anxiety and depression, all these things. And when she passed away into eternal glory, she fell into her master's rest. Right? And I know that there are a lot of people in our family, right, who are having a similar predicament. We're tired. Some of us are not okay. Some of us are having major health problems. Some of us are having major relational problems, marital problems, financial problems, right? Maybe your job is trying to oust you. Maybe, maybe you had a loved one die, or you're having car trouble, or if you guys can hear it in the background, your neighbors keep shooting fireworks even after you've called the police because it's really dry where we're at right now and there's a fire hazard out. It's lawless. And the thing that perplexes me is why people expect an outpouring of goodness from Satan via the way of the world. They're expecting, as believers, that their life is going to be super easy. Speaker buddy, it's okay. That it's going to be really easy, that nothing's going to go wrong for them. In fact, Christ said the exact opposite would happen. There have been a lot of people who are like, hey, you're telling me all these crazy things. Why are you laughing about it? I'm like, dude, because this is the only time in my life, really the last 4 or 5 years, that I've been seeking Christ diligently, and stuff has been going bad, and he tells me it's going to go bad. I find tremendous comfort in that. I do. Because he told me that it was going to. He told me that if I was following him, that they'd hate me for it. So jobs would go away. I had a job that I really enjoyed, and then it started to get really, really bad. So I left. Financially, it was getting hard, so I tried to go back there. They didn't want to hire me back because of my views and my faith. And so that was hard, but I'm on the right path because I'm serving the Lord and I'm serving him diligently. The health stuff starts to happen. With my heart being really, really not in good shape, with my knee being really not good shape either. And yet, I think back to Job. Have you considered my servant Job? And I look at this as an example to prove faithfulness to Jesus. Have you considered my servant Dylan? Have you considered my servant Bima, or Lamp, or Nikki, or Eva, or Sus, or KFT, or anything like that? So when we're going through this stuff, guys, it's easy because of this matrix that we're locked in to want things to temporarily go better. I'm petting Beaker because Beaker is terrified of the fireworks. So if you see his little nose pop up, that's what he's doing. But if you're wanting to find comfort in the things of the world, you're looking for comfort in the wrong place, friend. It's easy in the matrix to be distracted and to want financial stability, to want a nicer house, to want bigger cars, to want whatever, right? Personally, I've been going through a trouble of car bout on 2 vehicles right now. I only own 2 vehicles, and 2 out of 2 vehicles are having car trouble. It's maddening. And yet, is that temporary circumstance bigger than Christ? Of course not. Of course not. Right? And so we have to start putting our faith back in Jesus. We have to start understanding that Satan hates us. Things are going to go bad. This is my first video and on this type of thing, right? In several weeks, and neighbors are shooting fireworks. Kids are up screaming because of those fireworks. My wife is awesome. She's helping me deal with it so that I can hang out with you guys and share the good news of Christ. But this is an example even tonight about the fact that the enemy hates us and he wants to put stumbling blocks in. His desire is to get you so many things that get in your way, right? That they're like, as soon as it gets hard, you want to back out. That's Satan's goal. When in reality, right, our responsibility is to soldier on for Jesus. Good boy. Beaker really doesn't like fireworks. He's got gigantic ears. He could probably fly away if I let him. So the fireworks freak him out. And so I want to read a couple of things because we absolutely are in a matrix. We're seeing full nations trying to buck against the authority of Christ. We're seeing, obviously anti-Semitism in a major way, things that are not true, such as the Jews don't belong in the land. Israel is sensationalized. Israel are, they're not God's chosen, that we've replaced them, that there's, God doesn't have a plan for Israel. He's got a plan for the believer. God's got a plan for the believer, and he's got a plan for Israel as a nation as well. Right? And so the first thing that I want to read is from Psalm chapter 2. Right? And I want to read this because it says here in verse 1, "Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains and cast away their cords. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord taunts them. Then he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury. I have installed my king on Zion and upon my holy mountain. I will proclaim the decree spoken to me by the Lord. You are my son. Today I become your father." And there's more there. I encourage you to go read the rest of Psalm 2. But it's not just the Lord, the Father, that they're rebelling against. It's Christ. We're seeing so many things sticking their middle finger out at Jesus Christ. There are shows that try to depict him as like a gay friend of Buddha overseas. That's a thing. If you guys are familiar with like Japanese anime or animation like that, they're trying to make a show where it's like Jesus and Buddha are like gay for each other and they're college roommates. It's insane. It's gross. It came across my desk earlier this week. It's nasty. It's crazy. They mock Jesus in the streets. They try to attack churches, all of these things. They laugh in derision when we talk about the coming wrath of Jesus Christ. And they fulfill 2 Peter's prophecy of laughers and mockers and scoffers. Right? They hate God. They hate Jesus. And if they hated Jesus and murdered Jesus, even though he was perfect, they're going to hate us. Right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And, there are people who will ask, well, why do we have more struggles? I look at their life. Their life isn't as hard as mine. Look, God is sovereign. We're not. There have been times where I'm like, Lord, is there something wrong with me? Because it seems like I'm having kind of a lot happen right now. And sometimes, man, the Lord has a bigger plan and we just got to roll with it. Sometimes it's just to prove endurance and faith. You got to think, man, it drives the enemy insane when we have struggles and they don't affect us the way he wants them to affect us, it makes him so angry. I love that. That's my favorite. Because Satan's goal is to frustrate, to fatigue, to destroy us. My favorite thing ever is when he gives me something crazy going on, the Lord gets me through it and he throws a hissy fit. I love that. But I made his check engine light come on. But his tire popped. I took his health away and he's still worshiping the God of heaven. Of course I am. If I were to die in this chair in the middle of the stream tonight, my heart just said, no, no more. And I died. I win. I win. He can't take anything from me. The Lord can. Satan can't. Okay? So if you're in a season right now where you're like, man, I'm being tested and I'm so mad at the enemy has no power other than what God has granted him to do. Be like Job. Gird our loins and suffer well. God made heaven and earth, and he can deal with giving us certain trials and other people not those trials because he's God and we're not. Suffer well. That's all I can say. And if there's anything good that you see in me, it comes from Jesus Christ, for the record. I'm really weird about taking praise. I don't like being complimented. I don't like, like hearing people tell me, hey, good job. That was whatever. Every good thing that you see in me or that comes from my hands is from Jesus. Apart from him, I'm a wreck. The only reason that there's anything good in me is because of Christ. And I always, always, always want to give him glory, right? Even in the scary stuff, even in the health stuff, even in the attack, even in the car trouble, even in the financial woes, even in the times where it's really scary, you're worried about getting evicted from your apartment, or you're worried about the lights not being paid, you're worried about food in the fridge, whatever the deal is, right? You're worried about your marriage, you're worried about your kids, you're worried about your health. Being faithful to Christ in the midst of those things shows the genuineness of our faith. Because if our faith is reward-based, is it real faith? I keep hearing this thing from him where he keeps asking me if I'm going to be faithful. Really, that's him saying, like, do you trust me? And since I've given my life to Christ, I've heard that consistently. Oh, Bubba, I see that. That's funny. I was thinking the same thing, man. When my grandfather died 6 years ago, in 3 months, it'll be 6 years since he's passed away. No, I'm sorry. It'll be 5 years. 5 years, because 2019. The thing that I heard him say when I really started to give my life back to him and when I really was like, Lord, I can't do this on my own. You take the wheel. It was, do you trust me? And I slammed my hand on this dashboard in this truck that I was in. And I was like, God, I trust you. And that was the first time that I could declare that, right? In genuine faith. Because the Lord put on my heart that without him, I'm nothing. Without him, I have nothing. I have no certainty. I have no hope. I have no future. Everything that I had been looking for and longing for and working toward was a matrix of the enemy's design. None of it's real. None of it's going with me. And so the Lord told me and spoke to my heart in that moment, will you trust me? Because up until that point, I had been trusting and resting in myself and not in the Lord Jesus. It's a matrix. And there are too many believers who get stuck in that matrix and who don't want to come out of it because it's comfortable there. I get it. It's comfortable to have an easy job or a nice job or a well-paying job. It's comfortable to have really nice living accommodations. It's comfortable to have really nice cars, a lot of money. You know, whatever the deal is. The craziest thing you're worried about is, can you make taco salad before Timmy's baseball tryouts at 4 p.m.? I get it. That type of life is easy and it's tempting. Let's call it what it is. It's tempting. People want that. Struggle goes against our innate desire to be lazy and to not want to work hard and to not want to struggle. Right? And the fact of the matter is, guys, that we are called to a life of struggle. Whether or not it's physical for some people or others, doesn't matter. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's relational. Maybe it's whatever. Maybe you're really well off financially, but you can't find a church by you. Maybe you've got a great church, but you're struggling financially. Maybe you've got kind of a mix of both. Maybe you've got a really good relationship with the Lord, but your relationship with your family is garbage. Whatever the deal is, Christ is enough for all of it. Christ is strong enough to get you through every inch of it. He is. People want to assume that Christianity is this easy, rose-budded thing. There's a song by the Christian rock band Petra called Rose-Colored Stained Glass Windows. And it talks about this exact thing, that too many times we look through these rose-colored stained glass windows that life is going to be butterflies and daisies, when in reality, it's a battleground. It's hard. It's scary. It's challenging. It's hard. Jesus himself says that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to inherit the kingdom of heaven. And the disciples are all despairing. They're like, dude, what about the rest of us then? And he says, luckily, with God, all things are possible. His whole point is that through Christ, we get through these things. Bubba, I love Petra, man. When I rediscovered my love for Jesus, dude, I love Petra. Love Petra, man. They've gotten me through a couple of jams, pun intended. There's a lot of stuff going on. There is. And we're looking at all these different signs. There's a lot. Catch my breath here real quick. How about we look at just a handful? In Matthew 24, Jesus talks to his disciples about things to expect at the time of his second coming, the end of the age. In verse 3, it says this: as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and at the end of the age? So they're asking basically, what are the things that are going to happen that will cue us in to know that you're coming back, that it's the end of the age, that you're coming, that it's the end? And Jesus answered. Now, the first thing that he says, watch out that no one deceives you. If I may, it's important that we understand that the deception is not just fake news. Deception is everywhere. Man, it's like the oxygen we're breathing right now. Deception could be us falling for the matrix. It could be us falling for the temporal pleasures. It could be us falling for the things that don't have any substance in Christ. It could be all of those things. It could be the fake news. It could be that you're falling for a wind of false doctrine and teaching. It could be that Paul talks about in Romans not to be prideful and not to have our hearts puff up, and to be thankful for the Jews, because they're the ones who really kind of passed this torch of faith along to us. Jesus Christ was Jewish. He's an Israeli. Read it and weep, man. And so it could be that. Maybe you're getting prideful. Maybe you're getting too confident in your items. Maybe you're getting too confident in your finances. Maybe you're getting too confident in your house or your car or your shoes or the grill that you grill your meat on. It gets weird out here in Texas. Out here, it's like, you've got a Traeger, I've got a green egg. It's weird, man. I have a frying pan on my electric stove. It's quite old, but it cooks my food. I'm grateful for it, right? Like, maybe it's that. Beaker boy. You guys see Beaker looking at the window behind me. He's genuinely terrified of the fireworks. So, and Jesus tells these disciples what to look for. He says, don't be deceived. He goes on in verse 5. He says, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. I have a weird buddy. It's okay. Okay. Hey. It's okay. You want to sit down, Bubba? You want to sit? Sit. Good boy. I will say a unique problem I've had since having this YouTube channel. There have been so many people who have been like, I'm God, I'm Christ. And it's like Dale from Kentucky or Sabrina from Milwaukee or wherever. It's crazy. So he says that's going to happen. What else does he say? And I'm not kidding. Those are like actual legitimate things that have happened. Early on in the ministry, we had a lot of that happen. It's okay, buddy boy. I know you're doing so good, big guy. You'll hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you're not alarmed. So Jesus says, look, you're going to hear of wars, rumors of wars. Are we not hearing that? We've seen a lot of that. Yeah, Bubba, there was a video that went viral-ish like 6 months ago, and this lady's like, I formally activate the 144,000 witnesses. I'm from the Eagle tribe of who's the what's it, and I activate ye. It's like not real, right? It's fake. It's blasphemous. And it happens. Okay, buddy. Okay. Shh. Hold on real quick, guys. Hey. You are okay. Hey, you're okay. Okay. Here, a lot of fireworks. My neighbors are really not my favorite, and they're right behind my window launching them because they're just being mean. So unfortunately, that's another one of these things that's lawless out here. People don't care. I might have to end it here. Both my heart is getting fluttery and the animals are freaking out, and I've got to go ask these people to stop. But we'll talk more tomorrow. We'll do a part 2 to this, and we will talk about the fact, guys, that Jesus is coming soon. We have so many things. We have so many things to look forward to in the midst of all this, okay? So I love you guys. God bless you guys. Share the gospel. All right. Share this video if you can. It's been a minute, so sometimes the algorithm likes to kind of throw things under the rug after it's been a minute. So do me a favor, share this video on your platforms. I appreciate it. All right. And we'll talk more tomorrow. Okay. God bless you guys. Good night.